Oh, we're live. Hey, everyone. Authority game day show for week 1. If you don't recognize the voice, I, of course, am Anthony Pinzone, and the other guy who will be chatting with us, who you can maybe see on the screen. I don't know. I don't think you can see him yet because he hasn't said anything, but that's Kevin Steele. We will be getting you ready for week 1 ball season. You pumped, Kev?
Hell yeah! I woke up this morning and it was like, a little bit of like Drew Stanton last year. We did a little. I woke up just like that.
So if this is your first time joining us for the Game Day show, this is a more laid-back show than our TFA podcast on Tuesday nights. That one's recorded and edited and launched to you on Wednesdays. This show is just kind of for you. We help you guys out if you have questions for us or anything like that. Head on over to YouTube. We'll be tweeting out the link if we didn't already. We are making a little bit of a switch. Last year we did this on Rabble. This year we're doing it on YouTube. So already here, you obviously don't need the link, but if you want to send out the link to your friends or anybody else who may want to check this out, let me go ahead and post it in the chat right now and just go ahead and shoot that link over to anybody want to, come watch. Maybe they need some advice or something like that. We did get a question through the podcast form on the website, Kev. I don't know if you... We had a question come through from, see, I'm very unprepared. But kind of excited to talk about week 1 here as I sip my coffee. Do I look very New Yorker sipping my coffee right now and just kind of ready for the games?
You do. And I'm using
that's probably
a camo coffee pot.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so we both got it. We got our coffee ready. Once you have the coffee ready, that's it. You're good to go at that point. We're going to get the link out. Did you send the link out already?
Yeah, I just sent it on Twitter.
I'm going to retweet that stuff. Get that link going. Get some people in here. I'm really excited for this YouTube format. So we tested it out the other day, right? What was that, the Thursday night game? And that actually didn't delete. It's still on our page. So if you want to watch us just kind of going over testing YouTube, that was probably pretty entertaining as we try to figure out the different stuff that you can do here. But yeah, I'm excited for YouTube, man. Rabble was nice and it was fun, but nobody could see us first of all, so it was like people were just kind of tuning in and being like, who are these guys? So now you get a chance to see us, and you don't have to sign up for a new account. Everybody has a YouTube or a Google account, so you can just kind of pop right on, say what's up, and then ask your question, and then head out if you want, or you can stick with us. We go all the way till 1 o'clock my time, 12 o'clock Kev's time, right up to game time. Let's just so we're with you for the next hour and 20 minutes until the games start. Go over some of your questions, like I mentioned before. We're going to go over some of our some of the conflicts that we've kind of had in our lineup of the week. We're going to go over some of the matchups and stuff. We got a lot of time. We're going to do a bunch of stuff. We're going to get into it. Okay, let's start with you, man. Since I'm the only other one here, we have no other choice but to start with you. So let me just start with a question. What was one of your hardest lineup decisions this week as you're sitting there looking through, not DFS, we'll get into DFS in a second, but one of your hardest redraft lineup questions that you were just kind of going back and forth on pretty much all week? Even right now, you're probably still going back and forth on it.
Spencer Ware has been hard because at first, at first glance, if you will, we knew how bad the Chargers defense was last year. Their run defense especially was just horrible. And everything, even all preseason, the Chargers and, even the Chiefs, used Spencer Ware as the number 1 running back. And every down, and you felt great about it. And then so heading into this week, once Jamal Charles, looked like he wasn't going to play, Spencer Ware became a borderline RB1. Well, there's always something that has to happen. And then, of course, Therese Paylor, who is a Chiefs beat reporter here, who I trust greatly and does an excellent job for them, went out and said that actually Sharkhandrick West is number one and on the depth chart this week, which I mean that could go either way. And they said they basically split carries over practice this week, so it's a little bit of makes you a little nervous about firing up Spencer Ware. But I think in standard league, Spencer Ware is still fine. I think he's going to get a significant workload. I think he's going to the touchdowns will certainly be there, and with Sharkhandrick West, if you own him in a PPR league and if you're in a deep format, he's not a bad option this week. But nobody really seems to be paying all that much attention to Sharkhandrick West. And like I said, in a PPR format, I think he's kind of a little deep sleeper, if you will.
Yeah, that's actually kind of similar to mine because I have a league where I have Jamal Charles and I took Spencer Ware. It's a deep roster, so I was like, let me handcuff Charles in case he's not ready. But I also have Melvin Gordon and Rashad Jennings and Charles Sims, and it's a half-point PPR. I'm like, man. Since that report came out, I'm sitting here racking my brain. Like, do I just keep Ware in and go with my gut, or do I just kind of try to throw one of these other guys in? I really don't want to start Melvin Gordon against Kansas City's defense.
Actually, I'm higher on Melvin Gordon than everybody else. I think he's a solid RB2 this week. It's like I've said this multiple times now, and I guess I am a Chiefs fan, and so usually you would think I'm a homer or something like that. But as you can tell with so that's not already there. But I'm nervous about their run defense. Their run defense was not good in the preseason, and of course, it's the preseason. And I don't want to read too much into it, but I don't know. Like without Justin Houston's a very underrated, run defender, and now the reports today came out he probably won't be back to November, but through the preseason the Chiefs had like a 6.3 yard per carry average is what they allowed, and that's obviously terrible. So I don't know, they still have Dontari Poe and Derek Johnson and some of those other guys there, and Eric Berry now is back, which he wasn't playing throughout the entire preseason because he sat out, so that could have something to do with it because Berry is a elite run defender as well. So I don't know. Sneaky guy this week as well, and even in DFS, I've been firing him up in lineups. But I don't know. Like I feel confident with him.
You feel more confident about Gordon than you do about Ware?
No.
Run defense is atrocious.
No, sir. No. I would still start Spencer Ware over, but I'm just saying as a whole in the situation that he's in, I don't feel all that bad about Melvin Gordon. I think he'll be okay today. I could see 80 yards and a touchdown from him.
Mm-hmm. So there was just some breaking news here by Jeff Garlington. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. Chris Ivory is not going to play today. This morning for precautionary reasons resulting from issues unrelated to his calf. So TJ Yeldon is going to be the bell cow back for the Jaguars today. How much does that affect your here in week one?
That's big time. That's big time news. Because I think this game with the Green Bay is going to be high scoring, and I already kind of liked TJ Yeldon this week, regardless of that news, because of his PPR appeal. Because I felt like he was going to be used heavily in the passing game, and now this kind of just catapults Yeldon up even more. I think he could be a viable RB2 today.
Yeah, I agree. Was anybody else impressed by Yeldon in the preseason? Like he looked leaner, first of all. He looked faster, and he just looked like an all-around better back this preseason than he did at any point last year. I don't remember watching him last year and ever being impressed. And this year they had him going on a swing. The little swings to the outside. He just looked much more nimble.
Yeah, I think there's something to be, like I said, I mean, it was already it was kind of a murky situation with the two, but I always felt like in a PPR format that TJ Yeldon was kind of, the guy to own. And I still think now, like I said, I think this just makes him, this much more valuable. And obviously, so I think actually that's a good conversation to have as a whole, just about the entire offense of Jacksonville, because they're kind of a little bit difficult to predict because we all felt like the defense was going to take a step forward this year, especially with as much as they invested into the defense. They invested as much as any team this year with the additions of, Malik Jackson and then Jalen Ramsey through the draft and Miles Jack through the draft. So I mean, a lot of the moves, they made tons of moves this week, but obviously they're playing Green Bay. Jordy Nelson's back, so I think the offense is going to once again, like they did plenty of times last year, to carry the defense. So I'm firing up T.J. Yeldon and PPR leagues and feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I feel kind of unfortunate that I don't have any shares of him right now. Kind of a bummer. All right, let me bring up the schedule here because I don't have the greatest memory in the world. I can't remember who everybody's playing. You just mentioned Jacksonville's offense playing against Green Bay's defense. Terrible matchup, right? I mean, Green Bay's defense hasn't been very good for a while, probably since their Super Bowl run, which at this point was a few years ago. Quite a few years ago. Oh, I'm sorry. Fantasy Live is going off in the background here. NFL.com, I hate you so much. How do you feel about Allen Robinson? We all love. We love Allen Robinson, right? There's no question there. What do you feel about Allen Hurns, though? Allen and Allen here going on. And even more so, what do you feel about Julius Thomas? Because this guy showed that he has all the talent in the world when he played for Denver, right? I mean, Peyton Manning and him had just some sort of connection. It was unreal. He was top 3 fantasy tight end that season? Maybe the top overall fantasy tight end. I don't remember if Gronk was actually playing that year. Is there any chance that Julius Thomas gets back to form? And if so, I mean, maybe it's not him that needs to get back to form. Maybe it's the offense that needs to be planned more around him. But how do you feel about anybody outside of Allen Robinson playing against Green Bay here this week for Jacksonville?
Well, with the news of Chris Ivory going out, all this does is bump up everybody's value on the offense because the issue last year, or not really the issue, but with T.J. Yeldon, we know he wasn't efficient whatsoever inside the red zone, and so that really opened the door for the Allen Hurns and Julius Thomas and obviously Allen Robinson to just eat inside the red zone. Well, this year, with the Chris Ivory signing, that's why some people projected a little bit of a regression from some of these guys because they will have a back who they're able to pound it up the middle with on those short yardage situations inside the red zone, but without Chris Ivory, I think it just goes right back. I think Allen Hurns, to be honest, has been really undervalued throughout this entire preseason, offseason. Like, he just hasn't really gotten much hype. He's just kind of the guy that's there. Allen Robinson receives most of that. And then Julius Thomas does in his own right, really doesn't get much praise as well. I think all 3 of them are fine starts today. I have Julius Thomas as a top 10 tight end this week, and now with this, I could see myself bumping him up even a little bit higher. So, yeah, like I said, top and then Allen Hurns. I think he's a viable wide receiver 3 today. I love the matchup. I think it's going to be a shootout. They're going to have to keep up with Green Bay, and I think they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. And I think all 3 of them wide receivers are going to eat.
All right. I think I agree. I've been pretty high on Allen Hurns, I think, this whole offseason. I think he's been severely undervalued. Even in fantasy drafts, not a lot of talk around Allen Hurns. I haven't really seen a lot of people throwing his name out there. Julius Thomas, to me, is a huge question mark, man. I don't know what to expect out of this guy, right? Because it's not so much him, because they don't really utilize the tight end that much. So that kind of worries me.
So another interesting situation to talk about a little bit to kind of move past that game would be the running back situation with because I think like you mentioned Spencer Ware, and then that's kind of interesting, and that same sort of is Christine Michael from Seattle. He had that amazing run through the preseason, just looked fantastic. Of course, there's still people on both sides of the fence with that, not really knowing, people that don't want to embrace Christine Michael because of being burnt by him so often in the past. And then with Thomas Rawls coming off the injury, we know how dominant he looked last season. So what do you make of that situation? Obviously, this week it's supposed to be Christine Michael who gets the majority of the carries. But as we found with we haven't talked about that, but that would be the game that happened on Thursday night where Kelvin Benjamin was supposed to be limited and wasn't supposed to get targeted very often. Obviously, we know how that turned out. And, he was in there for 72% of the snaps. So, he was on. I think there was reports of 35. So obviously, that's a massive difference. And so, we know that it possibly could go the other direction. So, what do you make of that situation with those two running backs, and where would you start either of them?
It was between Christine Michael and who? Rawls?
Yeah.
I would start Christine Michael all day. He's on my Studs and Duds article for this week. If you haven't checked it out, head on over to thefantasyauthority.com. I was way wrong on C.J. Anderson and Kelvin Benjamin, by the way. Kelvin Benjamin, like you just said, though, wasn't even supposed to play. He was supposed to be on a limited snap count. Plus, he was going against one of the better secondaries in the league. So that's my defense there. C.J. Anderson, I just screwed the pooch on that one. But as far as Christine Michael goes, Miami's defense is – what is going on? Sorry, I have sound coming through my ear. Defense is terrible. You can see me right now. You can see the Dolphins jersey. Look at it. Their run defense is horrible. Christine Michael, if he continues to play like he did in the preseason, it's just going to light him up. He's just going to light him up. I have no faith in this team winning if they can't stop the run today, and then I have no faith in them actually being able to stop the run. So, yes, they have Sue in the middle. But then they got Williams and Wake on the outside, both of which are end of their NFL life at this point. Probably going to be Jordan Phillips, which is a guy nobody's ever heard of outside of Dolphins fans. He was a second-round pick last year, hasn't been that impressive. And then the linebacker situation isn't that great either. You got Jelani Jenkins, who was a career special teamer before last year. Kiko Alonso coming into the middle, which I think is a nice addition, but still has a lot to prove. He's very far off from the rookie season that he blew it up with Buffalo. So can he get back to form? We don't know. And then that third linebacker position is so up in the air. Who the hell knows is going to play that? Can really have an effect on stopping this is going to be Rashad Jones. Is easily our best defensive player. If he's going to stop the run game and Christine Michael, I just don't see it happening. I think Christine Michael has a day. I don't see Thomas Rawls really having much of an impact at all. I think they'd probably be wise not to even use him that much if he is not ready. And we've seen this with them before, though, with this coaching staff here with Pete Carroll. If the guy's not ready, he's not going to play him. He'll just stick with the hot hand. And right now, that's Kristen Michael. I keep saying Christine. I'm sorry. It's Kristen Michael coming off this hot preseason.
Yeah. Well, with Kristen Michael, I've been on the bandwagon, if you will, or I've never really gotten off but people seem to forget last year that during the playoffs and then the last week or two of the season, he kind of showed what he could do then. And last year, that was against the Vikings, who had a pretty solid defense. But I like Kristen Michael today. I have him as an RB2, ranked inside my top 20. I don't think Thomas Rawls gets all that involved in the offense. He is supposed to play. He is coming off that ankle injury. It took him a while to get back involved into the offense. And then he also had the flu this week, and so missed a little bit because of that. So I think with all that together, I don't think there's any reason to start for them to really give all that much to Thomas Rawls. I just don't think that's necessary. I think their offense, with or without Thomas Rawls, will be just fine against the Dolphins. So, like I said, with that being said, I love Kristen Michael, and I have him as a fairly mid-level RB2 this week.
Would you be surprised at all if he finishes an RB1 this week? I wouldn't.
No, and I think if he does, I think it would be interesting. Well, something we'll be talking about next Wednesday, is could Kristen Michael unseat Thomas Rawls, the starter in the offense? I know people don't want to believe that could happen, but he's looked great all preseason. And if he does it again today, I think they continue to have to give him a long look at that job.
Thomas Rawls only played 7 games for Seattle last year. Right? That was his rookie year, right? They don't have any sort of huge commitment to him or anything. They're not paying him a ton of money. So if Kristen Michael outplays him, I would not be surprised to see Michael be the go-to guy for the rest of the year. Another guy I kind of want to talk about on his team is Tyler Lockett. He's a guy we've been high on season for the most part. listed as the third string wide receiver behind Curse. That doesn't really affect me too much. But what do you think about him today? Go Miami here. I mean, maybe I'm super low on them because I'm a Dolphins fan and, we're forever pessimists at this point. But what are you thinking out of Tyler Lockett this week? You think he has a game?
The ability is certainly there for him to have a strong game. We saw last year just how dominant they were, especially that last 7-week run with Russell Wilson and, Doug Baldwin, who just, went ham against the entire league. So from there, I do like Tyler Lockett. I think he's a viable wide receiver 3 play. And it's really just going to depend on matchups. And one thing I do want to mention for, the couple people that are here, if you have any questions, shoot them in the chat. So we'll answer them live. As soon as you put them in, we're down. We'll answer whatever you guys got. We're here for you after all. But with that, I think it's kind of interesting to talk about the Dolphins because they have their own question marks this week with Jay Ajayi not traveling with the offense. Devontae Parker looks like he's out. So with that, I think it's interesting to talk a little bit about, you're the resident Dolphins guy. People aren't really giving Jarvis Landry much of a chance, but if you really pay attention, and Arian Foster, to be honest with you, people forget how, if you're going to exploit Seattle, the way to do it is through the slot, which is where Jarvis Landry will see plenty of, and the pass catching back. Both of them really hurt Seattle last year. They weren't able to contain those guys. And I think both those guys could actually be viable fantasy plays that people aren't really talking about. So what do you think about Jarvis Landry and or Arian Foster?
It's going to be hugely important that they get Jarvis Landry the ball early and often in this game. Because like you just said, the way to beat them is through the slot. Those linebackers start every single game playing up, right? They play a 4-3. So they play their front 7 up on the line every game. That's how they start. They want you to run against them. They pretty much, tease you into doing it. So the only way to get them off of the line is to hit those little dump passes right behind the linebackers. Then the linebackers pull back. Then Arian Foster will have some running room. I think Jarvis Landry could have a 10-catch day. Him and Tannehill are like this. He is easily his favorite target. Anybody on that Seattle defense that can really keep up with Landry? I mean, he doesn't get a lot of yards after the catch, but he's hard to keep up with as far as that initial move and getting open on his first move there. And that's usually when Tannehill will hit him. That's his quickest. As for the Ajayi thing, I'm still a little confused as to what's going on there. I know he's not traveling with the team, and early reports were because he was pouting over Arian Foster being named a starter. Call me crazy, I just don't believe that. I think there's something else to it. He was pouting, so he's not going with the team. Thinks this it's not a good enough story for me. Something else happened there that we're not being told. And maybe Ajayi will come back. But I got to say, anybody who drafted early, who took Ajayi before Foster was got to be just kicking themselves right now. Hopefully you were able to get rid of him. But at this point, he has little to no value. Damn shame about Devontae Parker. But, I mean, that's all we've seen out of him so far is injuries. So it's not too surprising at this point. To another well, actually, before we do, I know you just mentioned to have people submit the questions in the chat, and please do. Don't let us dominate the show. I mean, nobody wants to hear us talk the whole time, do you? We do have a question on the website, though. This comes from Quinn, Quinn Long 625. He says, should I start Charkandrick West, Terrence West, Corey Coleman, Alan Hearns, or Tajay Sharp in my flex week 1? You want me to put them in the chat here?
Repeat that one more time.
So it's Charkandrick West, Terrence West, Corey Coleman, Alan Hearns, Tajay Sharp in the flex. He's looking for a flex player here.
And he doesn't mention if it's PPR or standard?
No, nobody ever mentions that.
Because it matters. So it really comes down to Alan Hearns and Corey Coleman for me. I do like Corey Coleman this week. I actually have him. I think I have him at 28 in my weekly rankings right now. I do like him. I think they're going to have to score to stay involved in the game, as I've mentioned plenty of times on on our podcast, that I think the Browns really have an opportunity to be the sort of the Jaguars from last season. And right now, Corey Coleman is the man in the offense without Josh Gordon. They do still have Gary Barnidge and Duke Johnson, but I think as bad as their defense is, the offense is going to be on the field a ton. And so with that, I actually probably it's a toss-up for me because I like Allen Hurns as well, especially now without that news. So right now, I would probably play a little bit safer. Week 1, go Allen Hurns. But Corey Coleman is certainly worth a look for anybody who owns Corey Coleman.
Well, you know my feelings on Coleman. He can't start a rookie. He hasn't played has he played a preseason game? Maybe the last preseason game?
No, but he's still going to be the guy. He's going to get – he can easily get 8 to 12 targets today in that offense, and he's going to be utilized in the red zone next to Gary Barnidge. So there is some upside there for Corey Coleman. I have quite a few lineups in on DraftKings right now, and I got a good 20 to 25% share of Corey Coleman at this point in my lineups.
I have no Corey Coleman. I refuse. But still, Allen Hurns, I think, is a safer bet there. I agree with your initial assessment. Coleman could really just kind of light it up here in week 1 and show us what he is. But we have no idea what he is at this point, at least in an NFL uniform. We know what he is in college. But for Allen Hurns, we were just talking about him before. It's a pretty solid option. I agree with that, going with Allen Hurns. Just kind of an update on that Devontae Parker thing. He has officially been ruled out. If you own Kenny Stills or if you need a receiver, him and Tannehill have been having quite the what do you call it? Gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. I drink too much coffee, man. It's affecting my brain. Too much caffeine.
Hey. I'm weird though, with coffee. I'm weird because I can't drink it in the summertime. I can't drink hot stuff in the summertime. Now it's actually beautiful every day, 72. So I fired up the coffee pot and first pot of coffee of the old season. So anyway, no one wants to hear that.
I like it. Yeah, as you know, I'm at my buddy's house today for we have his birthday celebration in week 1. So people who are watching, if you see me go off on the side or whatever a few times, that's because people are coming in. It's going to be 5 to 7 people here today, and as we get closer to game time, they'll be coming in, and there'll be noise, and they'll be talking, and then you'll hear it. It's fine. It's cool. It's just a bunch of people watching football. But it's like, here, have some coffee. I'm like, oh, I didn't really want any, but okay, thanks. I guess I'm having some coffee today. Good. Listen, I was at just real quick before we get back to football, I'm at a wedding last night, right? My cousin's wedding. It's so hot. It's like 90 degrees without coffee. I'm like, who the hell is going to drink this coffee? It's 90 degrees out. I see at least 10 people drinking coffee. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why is 90 degrees out? Why are you drinking this coffee? You're already sweating. Oh, yeah, coffee problems. Hashtag coffee problems. Let's get over to the other AFC East team. Let's get to the Patriots. We all know the saga with Tom Brady not playing. He's out for the first 4 weeks. But Rob Gronkowski not playing in week 1, which really kind of affects, we have the TFA Listeners League. I took Gronk in the second round, and, well, that came back to bite me real quick. Hopefully but here in week 1 I was scrambling. I went and I grabbed Jesse James as a fill-in for the week. I feel like Pittsburgh gets the ball to the tight end a lot. Think about this. Any other options here for people who are running into the same situation? They only drafted Gronk. They didn't need a second tight end because, well, it's Gronk. What other options do they have for week 1?
Well, I think the obvious choice is and if people remember as well, the heated debate we had over Martellus Bennett, and now, it comes to fruition week 1. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not in love with Martellus Bennett this week. I see it. I understand it. But I don't know what to expect of that New England offense. They're missing, their left tackle this week. Gronk's out. I think Gronk really helps the entire offense and would help Martellus Bennett when he's on the field. And without him, who are they afraid of if you're Arizona? Like, who exactly are you afraid of among that offense? I mean, LeGarrette Blount, maybe, I guess. James White out of the backfield. Julian Edelman, I wouldn't be all that concerned with now. And so with that, like, I think they're just going to shut down Martellus Bennett. I'm not high. It could come back to bite me. But I just don't really care. I know Martellus Bennett, everybody just immediately jumped on that and was like, oh, tight end 1, top 5 option. Not for me, he's not. Because I just think there's so many other guys.
Do people even look at who they're playing when they say stuff like that? That Buchanan guy, right? The converted defensive end or something to safety. Now he plays like all 3. He plays defensive end, linebacker, and safety or something like that. He's insane. He's probably going to be matched on Bennett most of the day. And we don't know that Garoppolo can get the tight end the ball like Tom Brady could get him the ball. If this is Brady here, tight end, I'd say pretty easily. But it's Garoppolo.
No, right. And, I mean, yeah, you're right. Like you mentioned, Tyrann Mathieu is back. But so in terms of the other guys that are options, there's a ton of them this week. There's a ton of options who are readily available in all formats. You know, there's Vance McDonald, who I've, hitched my wagon to this year. There's Jesse James, like you mentioned. He has a massive touchdown. Clive Walford, another guy, great matchup against New Orleans. Is certainly a guy that I would be targeting. Dwayne Allen, if you have him or if he's somehow available. He's also another great option in that offense who is going to be another shootout of a game. So I think there's so many other options who I think are better situations that I wouldn't just run out and play Martellus Bennett. So, like I said, I may be in the minority. People are going to tell me I'm crazy, but I'm just not seeing it from Martellus Bennett this week. Not with all the players that are out, not with the injuries they have, and not playing against one of the top 5 defenses in the league against Arizona.
So I'm in the tight end, available tight ends in our PPR league. It's a 12-team PPR league. Looking at the list, how about Crockett Gilmore? He's a starter, right? Going against Buffalo.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not playing Crockett. I mean, in most leagues, I would say, like I said, Jesse James or Charles Clay is another guy I forgot to mention that I really like. I actually have him right out. Yeah, another guy that I have right outside of a top or a tight end 1. So he's certainly another guy. We know how bad the Ravens secondary is going to be, so he's certainly another option to take a look at. Like I said, so if I was going to rank them, I would probably put them. Probably Clive Walford 1, probably Vance McDonald 2. Well, let me rephrase that. I guess since I said Dwayne Allen, I have to put him in there. So it would be Dwayne. It would be Vance, or is it? I mean, I should have made a list. But anyway, so it would be Dwayne Allen, Clive Walford, Vance, Jesse James, Charles Clay above all of them. Damn, I'm terrible at this. So yeah, that's probably the way that I would go about it.
Loosen up, buddy. Loosen up. 4 viewers. How are you viewers doing today? We have no chatter from you guys. You're really letting us down here. The chat box is on the right, by the way. Is that the right? Is that the right direction? I don't know. It's over there. Click in it. Say hi. All you have to do is say hi. That's fine. It's nerve-wracking. Or listen, Sam Holt, our own Sam Holt, TFA contributor, says on Twitter, do you guys like Jarvis Landry or Tyler Lockett better in the flex this week?
In a PPR, I would probably at PPR I would go Jarvis Landry. I still think he's going to see 12 targets at least this week. So in PPR, I would go. And I believe if I remember when we had her on the podcast, she always talked about how she's a PPR. So if that's the case, then I'm going Jarvis Landry. I just don't see Tyler Lockett's going to get the volume. Though not that he couldn't bust off a 70-yard touchdown and bring it to the house. So, but I think I'd play a little safe and go Jarvis Landry there.
Yeah, I agree. She does not mention in there if it's PPR or not, of course. Come on, Sam. Get it together. And she'll probably reply to us on Twitter.
So I got some – so, a little segue, I suppose. So some questions that we can answer here. See what you think.
Segue. We don't need a segue. We're live. There's no segues live.
That is.
I think I just made that up. I think I made it up. But Seahawks will stand and lock arms during national anthem today. You're a veteran. You like that, right?
I do. I really hope. I don't really like talking. Don't like talking about this too much, but
I know. We don't like talking about it here, but
I will say
on
this.
the TV.
Yeah, I will say this. I really hope that nobody does the whole kneeling down thing today. It's about September 11th and remembering everything that happened there. It's not about anything else. Like, pick a different day. I'm fine if you want to do what you want to do. That's right. But today would be a very, very bad day to pick to do that, in my opinion. To sit down during the national anthem.
It would be extremely disrespectful today. Yeah, we're not going to talk a lot about that, guys. You haven't heard anything about it on our podcast or anything like that. It's not something we're trying to get into. It's not fantasy football related, and we have some pretty strong feelings on it. But ask us on Twitter if you really want to know. Ask us on Twitter. We'll let you know. We did get a question in the YouTube chat as well, so whichever one you want to go with first here. Let's go with YouTube. They're here. They're listening. We'll go with that. All right. Our boy Andrew Hankins joining us for the second season in a row. He's my personal friend in real life, and he's always with us on the Game Day Show. Thanks for joining us again today. AJ, he wants to know Corey Coleman or Laquan Treadwell in the flex. It's PPR league. You're thinking Coleman. See it in your eyes. I am, but that Amir Abdullah one is tough because that's such a great matchup to exploit this week. I think that's just going to be which it'll probably end up being like 10-6 or something like that, but it's usually how it goes. But I think it could end up being like a 48-45 type of game. But yeah, I'd go Corey Coleman. I just like him a little bit more. Oh gosh, they're playing the Colts, right? The Lions are playing the Colts. If you win Amir Abdullah, I wouldn't be mad at all because I see the upside there. Everybody's so down on Abdullah, and myself included, right? But is this one of those situations where we are way too down on a guy? The past, right? Almost every year. Like, what about the year that Adrian Peterson came back? Now, Abdullah is not Peterson, but this is the only thing that I could come up with off the top of my head. I mean, the year that Peterson came back, he went in like 5th, 6th round of drafts, and he won overall. So is this a situation where we're just way too low on Amir Abdullah? I mean, you could make that case. I mean, he was sort of that guy that's in that sleeper, was a, 7th, 8th, 9th round pick this year that could easily far out exceed our expectations of what we thought he could be. I just don't know. He doesn't profile really as a 3-down back. And then they have Theo Riddick. So it's kind of like, what do you do with that? Because Theo Riddick's going to see the volume in the passing game. And so, and a PPR kind of neutralizes him a little bit in that aspect. So, I don't know. I think Abdullah's certainly worth a look. But like I mentioned, I think Corey Coleman, just because there's not a whole lot else there. And I think the world gets to see who Corey Coleman is this week. Yeah, I'll agree with you. I'll go with Corey Coleman on this one. Listen, I'm at the buddy's house who I'm at right now is a huge Eagles fan, so I can't say I want to see the Browns win. So I'm not going to say that. But G3 be somewhat successful here, right? I want to see the Browns do something positive. If they don't win, and they've said this on the radio quite a bit, if the Browns go 6 games this year, say they win only 3 games this year, but RG3 looks pretty good. Like, he looks like he's returning to the form that he was his rookie year. Year for the Browns, right? Because now that position's done. Like, they're good. They have a quarterback. They can continue building the rest of it. Yeah, it's kind of like last week we were talking about the Browns and their offense, and they have pieces there. Like, people are down. It's the same treatment that happens to a lot of these teams that, in fantasy, is that we kind of just push them off to the side because of their name. They're the Browns. They're terrible. I don't want any part of that. And so people don't want to invest in that offense. Like, I don't think anybody was highly invested in the entire offense. I think Duke Johnson may have been the highest in PPR leagues, but I think people are going to be surprised with the Browns this year. Like I said, the volume is going to be there.
they're going to have to throw the ball. And so, to be honest, I like RG3 a little bit this week. The interesting thing with Philadelphia, and I was thinking about this earlier today with them, is we know that their defense wasn't really all particularly that great last year, but some of that had to do with Chip Kelly and the style of play that he ran. The defense was always out of gas because they're always on the field. And so I don't really know what to expect from Philadelphia and their defense. But one thing I do know, no matter what, is that Cleveland is going to get plenty of opportunities. And so, like I said, I think RG3, especially in like a DFS, is certainly worth a look in a GPP. I think Corey Coleman's worth a look. Isaiah Crowell is a little undervalued as well. So it'll be interesting to see that offense. I've been looking forward to it. And it's just going to get even more interesting week 5 against the Patriots when Josh Gordon returns.
That Josh Gordon return. There's been so many conflicting stories on that, right? Some people are like, oh, he looks like he's returned to form of 2013, whenever the last time he played. I think it was 2013. And then there's other reports that he looks slow and sluggish and fat and out of shape and yada, yada, yada. We'll truly see 4 weeks from now. But for now, it's the Corey Coleman and Terrell Pryor show at this point. You starting Terrell Pryor anywhere? I started him in one league.
Not in like a season-long league, I don't think I would. You'd have to be a little desperate at that point to start Terrell Pryor. But DFS, again, I certainly would. He makes for an excellent GPP play. Like we mentioned, there's not a whole lot of other options there. Like I said, Gary Barnes, Duke Johnson. But he can easily – we know RG3 loves to throw that deep ball and does it pretty well. So Terrell Pryor, in the preseason, looked pretty dang good. Dude has some serious speed to take the top off the defense. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he hauled in a 50-yard touchdown today. So, yeah, I think he's worth a look. Unless you're in some really deep league in terms of season long, yeah, maybe. But because I think there's also, not to really switch gears, but Will Fuller and Houston. He's another player that really nobody's paying attention to. He started to pick up a little steam as of late. But that Houston-Chicago game is a game that I'm certainly wanting to exploit this week. Brock Osweiler, he's worth a look over quite a few guys this week because I think Chicago, their secondary is completely destroyed. Kyle Fuller is coming off arthroscopic knee surgery, so he's banged up, and their other options that they have there are not looking so great either. I think Tracy Porter's coming off concussion protocol. So with all that, and we all know their defense wasn't particularly that great to begin with last year, I think DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller could both have really big days today. And then, like I said, Osweiler, another guy that a lot of people are talking about, is certainly in that sleeper category.
Yeah. I think, man, remember how down we were on Will Fuller when Houston took him in the draft? Season, like just seeing the plays he's made, like I think this guy's actually going to be pretty good. He's been a pleasant surprise to me so far. It's preseason. I know I'm trying not to get too excited for these guys in the preseason, but you haven't seen. That's the only NFL action we've gotten to see out of these guys. So I thought Fuller looked pretty good. Or Fuller.
No, yeah. Like I said, another guy that he's going to be a little hit or miss. He's not going to see 12 targets today, but another guy that could easily, especially with that banged-up secondary in Chicago, could easily rip off, get hit with a 60-yard touchdown.
And I'm starting Terrell Pryor actually in our PPR league because our receivers are super good in that league.
I know. Just you went full on, just zero wide receiver there. You embraced.
Who else am I? I don't know who else I would even start. Maybe Michael Thomas. Instead of Pryor. I have Mike Wallace and Terrell Pryor in with Tyler Lockett. Those are my 3 receivers right now with Michael Thomas and Tyler Boyd and Quan Treadwell on the bench. I like Thomas. I do. I get nervous about starting a rookie in week 1.
Mike?
I'll have to keep looking at that one.
Is Michael Thomas out?
Is he? I don't know. Let's take a look here. He will play. Ian Rappaport said he'll play. He's been limited by an ankle injury all week. That's even worse. Right? So my other options are Tyler Boyd versus the Jets or Treadwell versus Tennessee, which I guess is a decent matchup, but it's Sean Hill throwing the ball. My chances on the Flacco to Mike Wallace 60-yard bomb. All I need is one of those for him to be worthwhile. And the same thing with Terrell Pryor, actually. So I'm taking my chances on the bomb plays this week.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're
Thank
going
you,
to do.
Steven. Yeah. Stephen Wilson stopped by, said good luck this weekend, guys. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. Yeah, I'm taking huge chances there with my receivers. But, I mean, I guess I didn't really go in planning this strategy, but I ended up with a 0 wide receiver strategy here. So I have David Johnson, Mark Ingram, Latavius Murray, and Drew Brees all playing, so I guess that's part of it, right? You just have to go with the high upside or boom or bust plays at the receiver position in that case. Still looking to make a trade, by the way, in case you were wondering.
I know, you sent me one, and I was like, no, sir.
I thought it was a decent one, even though I know you're high on Michael Floyd. I know you're high on Duke Johnson, too, so I was like, maybe. Maybe not. We'll see.
So, all right. So we got some questions. Let's answer some questions, some Twitter questions.
Let's do it.
All right. All right. So this one comes from @KingHef, King HEF. So I guess it's Hef. I don't know. Anyway, PPR: James White, Frank Gore, Danny Woodhead, Abdullah. Who do you start?
Well, you got to read them a little slower than that. I'm not a speed listener.
Oh, sorry. PPR: James White, Frank Gore, Danny Woodhead, Amir Abdullah. Who are you starting?
Gosh. I really want to say Gore here. You're probably cringing at that. I think it's between Gore and Abdullah, personally. I'm not on the James White train at this point. It's probably going to run me over. Gosh. I'm going to go with Gore. I think he's going to get the workload there. We're not sure on Abdullah, even though he probably makes a better PPR play. But Gore catches the ball out of the backfield too. I'm going to go with Gore. I'm going to go with the veteran.
That's who I went with too. Surprisingly enough, I do like James White. I do, but I actually like him quite a bit this week. I think he's going to see 8 to 10 targets, somewhere in that range. But I like Gore because I think he's a 3-down back. He's going to get a ton of work, and I think he scores. The touchdown potential is extremely high with him as well. So in that matchup against the Lions v Indy, so I would go Gore, which I don't really. I feel dirty saying it because I've just kind of like I've sort of low key shit all over Frank Gore this year, but not. But yeah, I'm going to shit on Frank Gore all year, and then our first game day show, I'm going to recommend you play him. I feel like that all over the board because there's a lot of guys like Brock Osweiler. I wasn't really held that high on, but I really like Brock Osweiler this week. So it's funny whenever the real bullets are flying, you start looking at matchups, and you're like, okay, well this is a little different now. So I don't know
for sure.
So I got another one. This one comes from Chris O'Brien, 83. Am I starting Procise over Sims in my Dynasty League? He's starting Elliott at running back and DeAndre Washington at flex.
No.
Yeah, no, me neither. There's no. I see it.
No.
I mean, Procise, former slot guy, former slot wide receiver at Notre Dame. So the appeal is certainly there for him. But no, sir. No, you do not start Procise week 1 over Charles Sims, who, I have made no secret that I love this year. I have him on every team I've drafted. So, no, I would start Charles Sims for 100%.
Yeah. You're overthinking the hell out of that one, man. No way. Charles Sims all the way.
So, but there is a question.
If you watched any Bucks last year. Sorry.
Would you consider starting Procise over DeAndre Washington that he has in his flex?
Those are my two options.
Well, yeah, because he started. So the option was Sims over or I can think Procise. But now he also said he had DeAndre Washington in the flex. So you could start Procise over DeAndre Washington. Would you do that?
But are we comparing these three for the flex, or he can start two of the three?
Well, I assume that it was an RB2 question, and then in the flex he was putting DeAndre Washington.
Oh, gosh, Procise or Washington?
I think for me, week one.
I don't think either of them are going to do anything.
Well, week one, I think you go DeAndre Washington. I think that's going to be DeAndre Washington's early role of the season. Is going to be he's going to get work, and I think he's going to be involved in the passing game. So, I do think that's where I think it's not and against the Saints, another one of those probably one of the higher scoring matchups of the weekend as well. So, I get it. I would probably roll DeAndre Washington there because you just don't know what to expect as of right now from CJ Procise. There are some people who think that he could end up being the David Johnson of this year, which is interesting. So, but he's certainly a guy you want to have on your roster. But at week one, just a little bit too tough, a little too rich for me this week.
It's really funny you say that because I was just about to say it depends which one has the better chance to David Johnson at this week. Which one has the better chance to get 5 touches and make a score out of it, right? Because they're not going to get a ton unless Latavius Murray or Kristen Michael goes down. A lot of work today.
No, well, yeah. I think he could be involved in the passing game for sure, but he's also been limited throughout most of this, so I don't know how involved he gets. But so I got a really good one for you here. Derrick
really
Henry or Michael Thomas as my flex.
Derrick Henry or Michael Thomas as your flex. Gosh. Versus Minnesota, right? Derrick Henry's going versus Minnesota. Michael Thomas versus Oakland. Thomas. I think Thomas. I think because, right, I mean, they got Brandon Cooks and Mark Ingram and Kobe Fleener. So he's probably the 4th option on that team.
Willie Snead. You didn't mention him.
But probably – I'm sorry, Willie Snead. So he's the 4th or 5th option on that team. But it's probably the same for Henry, right? Because they got Murray and Sharp and Matthews. No, maybe Henry. Now that I sit here and talk it out in my head, who has a better option and less around them that could take the opportunities away, we'll probably have a better opportunity here. Even though it's a tougher matchup going against Minnesota's defense. So.
I know it's really not an option I really want to go with either way. Like I don't feel comfortable with either one of them. I would prefer to see if an Eli Rogers is available who could end up being the wide receiver 2 in that offense with Marcus Wheaton out this week.
Yeah.
He's a guy I'm really sneaky high on this week. I think he deserves some looks all across the board, we know that there's no Ladarius Green. It's going to be Sammy Coates, Eli Rogers, and obviously Antonio Brown. So I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting week. Sammy Coates had a terrible preseason. Just looked awful. People wanted him to be a thing. He just hasn't turned into a thing yet. But Eli Rogers has looked pretty damn good. 2nd year in the league. A lot of guys you heard the name Eli Rogers when people start talking about him. People are like, who? Who the hell are you talking about? But he has quietly gone about his business and looks pretty damn good. So if you're that low down on the totem pole of guys you're looking to start, I would actually prefer to look at an Eli Rogers if available. But
that's a great call out right there. A great call out. I would probably agree with you. Eli Rogers is going to be the 2 in one of the that makes receivers, right? I mean, who was Mike Wallace? Who was Antonio Brown? Like, who were these guys? They were nobodies for the most part. They go into this offense, they become somebody. Even Darius Hayward-Bay, bro. What did he do in Oakland? Nothing. Comes to Pittsburgh, and he's not like a fantasy relevant receiver on a week-to-week basis, but from a regular NFL standpoint, this dude old for them. I think Rogers is a good call out there. We do have a question here in the YouTube chat. Thanks for joining us, Aukie99. If I'm saying your name incorrectly, I apologize. I'm sorry. Matthews with Jeremy Hill, pick 2.
You know who I want to say, but I can't. I love Jeremy Hill, and Jeremy Hill is going to be a guy that everyone's going to be after this week. or at least a high likelihood of it. If you were going to be like, I told you so, he sucks. I told you not to draft him. I told you not to mess with him. But it's just it's not a good matchup for him whatsoever against the Jets and their front seven that they have. So it's got to be Kristen Michael and Ryan Matthews. I love Ryan Matthews this week going up against what we've already talked about, terrible Browns defense. And then we've already talked about Kristen Michael. I just can't play Jeremy Hill this week. I actually, in one of my own home leagues, I actually sat Jeremy Hill. So I've been in this same situation for Kristen Michael. So I've already made the decision myself. So if it doesn't work out, we're both hurting.
Yeah, I also have Hill on my duds list. Really tough game this week for him against that Jets front seven. So I'd have to agree. Kristen Michael and Ryan Matthews. And how about Ryan Matthews, man? How about one of the most underappreciated running backs in the league? And you know what? He's always hurt, and you have to be on the field to contribute to your team and to help your team. But when this guy is healthy and he is running the ball, fantastic. No problem, Alki. Thank you for joining us, man. Stick around. We're on for about another half hour or so, right up to kickoff. So if you have any other questions that pop in your head, just feel free to throw them in that chat, buddy. But yeah, Ryan Matthews, man. Is he one of the most underappreciated running backs in the league, or is it deserving because of his inability to stay healthy?
No, it's all because he can't stay healthy. I mean, he's been a solid running back. But he just can never stay healthy. And so, I mean, he's a fine chip to have early, but he's certainly a guy, though, to be honest, if he does get going and looks great early on, that you may look to trade because I just have no faith that the man can stay healthy. I hope he does. There's a lot of players that get that rap. I remember it wasn't that long ago that we thought the same thing about Rob Gronkowski and, some of these other guys who have, always are hurt, and then they kind of sort of get over that hump. And so, Ryan Matthews could be that guy this year that, stays healthy for the majority of the season. So, yeah, for me, I really like Ryan Matthews this week. Again, another borderline RB2 or borderline RB1, excuse me. And then when you look at some of the other options, around this week that we should probably be talking about is, some of these other games where, there's some games like we've mentioned before. Like tonight's game against New England and Arizona. Like, what do you do with Michael Floyd or Larry Fitzgerald or John Brown, going against New England? New England is a savvy team. You can never count out Bill Belichick, but I'm not counting on him tonight. I just think that there's way too much going against them. David Johnson should go off against them tonight. And then, Michael Floyd seems to be a guy that people are a little bit down upon. And I just don't understand because I think he has wide receiver one upside this week. John Brown coming off those concussions, Larry Fitzgerald. I'm down between all of them. I think he's the third option on the offense. Not that that's a bad thing, but it should be mentioned with the Cardinals that they haven't looked good at all this preseason whatsoever. Carson Palmer, I believe, didn't even throw a touchdown over the preseason. I think he had 3 or 4 interceptions. Kind of picked up where he left off last year in the playoffs, where very, very erratic. So, to be honest, this week, I don't know if I'm playing Carson Palmer. That probably sounds a little crazy, but I'd love the Derek Carrs of the world this week. Matt Stafford, Matt Ryan should be a good play. Jameis Winston. Like I've already mentioned, Brock Osweiler, really, really like him. And then RG3, if he's available, our very own Ryan loves him this week as well, who wrote up a piece on him in DFS. So, I don't know. I think when you look at those things, I think it's interesting. But, I think we should get into just a little DFS this week. I have a ton of lineups out there. I really put all my proverbial eggs in one basket this week. And so for me, I guess we should talk about a little bit about how rough week one can be because we don't really know what to expect at all. Where it's all, I hate the idea of just going off of what happened last year as a guide to who you should play this week and how bad X team was versus, last year, because things have changed. We mentioned that with the Giants. I don't know what to expect with them. When we talk about some of these other options, it's just tough to know what to really think about some of these guys. But so some like this week, the most chalky of plays is going to be the Marvin Jones, the Spencer Wares, Kristen Michael to some degree. But and then when you look at some of the time, for me, like I said, I'm going to in a GPP. I'm going to try to avoid some of these guys because you're not really separating yourself whatsoever. So I've been actually firing up a little bit of Sharkhandrick West. I think his ownership is going to be extremely low. I do have some James White exposure. Melvin Gordon, I have him in quite a few lineups. Rashad Jennings, another guy that I really like, have him. And now I've been sitting here kind of adjusting some things and adding TJ Yeldon, sprinkling him throughout my rosters, because I think TJ Yeldon this week gets a significant bump with the Chris Ivory news. So, and then I'm not paying up for any tight end or really quarterback this week. I haven't touched a single high salary quarterback. I think I have one roster I think I have Russell Wilson in as just sort of a contrarian play, but just to switch things up. But for the most part, I pretty much stuck with Dak Prescott, Brock Osweiler, RG3, and did a little bit of Jameis Winston. So
I don't know if you just saw, but it was Roto World is reporting only dressed 2 running backs this week, Justin Forsett and Terrence West. So Buck Allen was a healthy scratch in week 1. We thought he was a starter.
Well, I never thought he was a starter, but I thought he'd be heavily involved in the passing game. Obviously, that's not the case. It's really a surprising move, to be honest. I guess because Justin Forsett has never been a high volume. He's never been a great pass catcher. Let me rephrase what I'm trying to say. And so I think that's a little surprising that they're only going to start 2 of them. Or they're only going to suit up 2 of them. Terrence West, I think, sees a little bit more volume now and sees a little bit more value. I had actually had him drop down a little bit. So for me, I don't know. I think Terrence West now in a deeper format is worth a few looks in a standard league, because I think he could get a little, maybe find the end zone. And then Justin Forsett, I think you have to bump him up a little bit because, like I said, I really thought Buck Allen would be the guy, but what do we know? I guess Harbaugh's going with the veteran look.
We know nothing, apparently. We know nothing, apparently, because I would have thought it was Buck Allen all the way, and Terrence West is pretty much the winner between those 2. I mean, we knew Forsett was going to dress, so they obviously are enamored with him for some reason, but, man, to only dress 2 running backs, what if one goes down? You're looking at your fullback at that point to carry the load, or to help carry the load. That's nuts. All right. We got some questions in the YouTube chat here. Actually, Hankins and Aki both have questions again. Hankins says, Michael Thomas, Tajay Sharp, Tyler Boyd, or Travis Benjamin and flex. So Thomas, Sharp, Boyd, or Benjamin. It's a PPR league flex spot.
I think I'll give Tajay Sharp the look.
Really? Tajay Sharp against Minnesota. I'm trying to think in New York. Who's their second corner in New York that's going to be covering Boyd? I don't know what to think of Boyd at this point. I think he could be a surprise this week, too. I think he could put up some big numbers. It depends on how that offense is going to do against that defense, right? Obviously, that's every matchup is the offense versus the defense, but this is a that plays extremely well during the regular season. And New York Jets front 7 that may be one of the best in the league.
Yeah, so going up
the second corner apparently. Thanks, Grant.
What's that?
Buster Screen is the second corner.
Yeah, Buster Scribe's got to be the one going covering. So I mean, you'll have Darrelle Revis on AJ Green, Marcus Williams likely on Brandon LaFell. So it's interesting. I mean, Scribe wasn't all that impressive last year. Short, 5'9", 185-pound corner. The slot guy for them, and got kind of abused last year. Lower ranked on the according to PFF in terms of where he came in last year. So Tyler Boyd is a very, very interesting option. I have no real faith in Brandon LaFell. I don't think he holds that job all season. Wouldn't be surprised if Boyd challenged him for the wide receiver too. His position there. So it's one of the most inefficient wide receivers in the league. So, but this is tough because you're kind of like going down that rabbit hole of not really knowing what to do there. But I think it would be really close between either Tajay Sharp or Tyler Boyd for me. Travis Benjamin certainly deserves a look because of his big game ability. And I think in that Chiefs game today, I think you're going to see Marcus Peters on Keenan Allen quite a bit, which leaves, a very unknown, untested corner. I think I just talked to myself. I'm going Travis Benjamin. I just talked myself into it.
Well, if you look at the options, right, so Sharp and Benjamin are really the only known starters at this point. Boyd's listed as the third receiver, and Thomas is as well, correct? He's behind Snead and Cooks. So you have Benjamin who's the 2, and you have Sharp who could be the 1 or the 2. I think there's a 1A and 1B there with Matthews and Sharp in Tennessee. So, and between Benjamin, I think the matchup is probably better for Benjamin at that point. You're going to have a tough time all season there. Choosing between those 4. Hopefully, one of them or 2 of them will kind of make it a little easier on you from a week-to-week basis and get a little consistency going. Benjamin is a good option there. Okay, has another one here: Jeremy Maclin or Eric Decker. San Diego against Jason Verrett. I have Maclin actually on my duds list this week. He has not performed very well against San Diego as of late. And Jason Verrett, man, how undervalued is that guy? Or Eric Decker going against whoever the second in Cleveland. Insert name here. Some guy off the street.
I'm going Jeremy Maclin on this one.
Are you? Wow. I would go Decker. Why do you like Maclin on that one?
Volume, and more volume.
There is no volume. It's a Chiefs offense that doesn't pass the ball.
The Chiefs offense doesn't pass the ball? But it doesn't. That doesn't matter. I mean, Jeremy Maclin
just said volume.
Yeah, because he's going to get a ton of it.
Right?
I mean, 87 receptions last year was a career high for him, and that's considering the fact that he came from Philadelphia playing in the Chip Kelly offense, and he still received 87 receptions last year. He's going to see a ton. I'm not really all that down on Jeremy Maclin this week. I still think he's going to be a fine wide receiver too.
One, I think he has a much better matchup here against Cleveland and an offense that passes the ball more. Oh,
are they though?
I'm sorry. Jets face Cincy. I thought it was. I'm sorry. I thought I got Cleveland stuck in my head there. Decker against Adam Jones. Yeah, I'm still going with Decker. I think they pass the ball more than Kansas City. I think that Maclin's a very tough matchup there against Verrett, and I know he's probably not going to be one-on-one with Verrett the whole game, and he will get some volume there. But I just have more faith in that at this point. That's really weird to say. Jets passing game. Ugh. Jersey, I think.
I'm starting to rub off on you a little bit.
Man. Do you have any other questions over there? or hopefully we answered your guys' questions in the chat. I know, Aki, we kind of split. He wants Macklin, I want Decker, but hopefully the reasoning would help you out at least.
I feel like the Jets game could be very low scoring. The Jets versus Cincy. I think, like I've mentioned before, I think Cincinnati's going to be far more run heavy than we think, with the losses of the Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu, Tyler Eifert's out. I think you're going to see them lean on the run heavily. They do have the defense to withstand that, and so with that, I also feel a little bit the same way about the Jets and so I think the game script of it could be very low volume across the board, and it just makes me a little nervous. When I look at the Chiefs game, I think it has the ability to be very, very. I think it could be a high-scoring game. I think there's going to be more opportunities there. There's nobody else around Macklin to really steal targets from outside of Travis Kelce. And we all know that Alex Smith just loves to lock on to one guy, and that's what he's done with Jerry Macklin all last year. I don't see it changing this year. And I think if I was going to project a stat line for the both of them, I think I would look at Jeremy Macklin somewhere in the 7 to 9 receptions, 90 yards, and a touchdown.
All right. So more reporting here on Roto World, our favorite. Sammy Watkins, not 100%. Still confident playing him this week?
I'll take all of those shares. All the Sammy Watkins.
You like Sammy Watkins, huh?
Love Sammy Watkins, especially against that terrible Ravens secondary.
Okay. And Spencer Ware warmed up with the starters there, for whatever that's worth. So we have about, sure my computer time is correct here. Yeah, we have about 12 more minutes until kickoff. I know a ton of questions over there coming in on Twitter. Remember, guys, if you have questions on YouTube, you get priority. So quick, a bit of a lightning round here. We're going to go through as many questions as we can to close out the show. Throw it in there, and we will throw it into the lightning round mix. Let's get to it, man. Hope you have your questions ready.
Standard League. Who do I start at my flex? Matt Jones, Michael Thomas, Torrey Smith. I'm going Matt Jones.
Yeah, same here, Matt Jones.
Matt. Well, I was waiting for your response. Matty Ice or Jameis Winston?
Jameis Winston.
Matt Ryan for me. Up next, Bortles or Cousins?
Bortles.
I'm going Cousins. Just like that match. Gio Bernard, Sterling Shepard for the flex. And PPR.
Gio. I want to go Sterling, but I can't. Gio.
I'm going Sterling Shepard. Michael Crabtree or Doug Baldwin?
Baldwin.
Agreed. Jared Cook or Zach Ertz?
Let's see what Cook's got. Let's go with Cook.
I'm going with Ertz. Torrey Smith or Eli Rogers?
Torrey Smith.
I'm going with Eli. Melvin Gordon, Jeremy Hill, or Walford? I guess that would be the flex.
Or Walford? Why is Walford in there?
I'm guessing it's probably a flex where you can start a tight end.
Hankins has one in the YouTube chat as well.
Okay. Go with it.
Who are you going with on that? I went Gordon.
Oh, yeah, Gordon. Yeah, I didn't think yeah.
Henry or Duke Johnson? Derrick Henry or Duke Johnson, PPR?
Duke Johnson.
Duke, yeah, not close. Duke.
Jordan Matthews or Arian Foster, PPR?
Matthews.
Agreed. Very, very sneaky play today. Spencer Ware or Sterling Shepard, PPR.
I like the workload better for Ware.
Agreed. Frank Gore or Jeremy Hill?
Gore.
Bennett or Walford?
Bennett.
Mike Evans, Sammy Watkins, or Spencer Ware at flex?
Gosh, what a stacked team. Evans.
Oh, yeah. Love me some Evans. Dak or Phillip Rivers?
I'd love to say Dak. Just to say Dak, but I'm going Phillip Rivers.
Okay.
Who'd you go with? You go with Rivers there?
Oh, yeah. You can't. I'm not trusting Dak Prescott week 1.
We didn't talk. I can't believe we didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about the Cowboys and Dak Prescott week 1. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Marvin Jones or Dante Moncrief?
Moncrief.
Very close, by the way, because I love some Marvin Jones this week. Kamar Aiken or Pierre Garcon?
Aiken. I haven't heard anything about Garcon this year. Have you? I mean, is that guy even playing? Is he alive?
He is. He is. This is a good one. David Johnson or D'Angelo Williams?
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's closer than people probably think, too.
I would have to ask, who the hell is your other running back? That because I think D'Angelo Williams is a top 3 running back this week.
Does he? Maybe he has all 3. Maybe he's got Gurley, too.
Yeah. So flex question.
I'd say David Johnson still, but that's close.
Yeah. Flex, Keenan Allen, Eric Decker, or Jordan Matthews? Keenan Allen.
Allen. Yeah, Allen.
Oh, see, this is a good one.
I think he could score the least amount of points out of those 3, though, this week. I think there's a real opportunity he gets shut down.
Spencer Ware or Snead? No, it's a PPR league, so I guess that does make a little difference, but still Spencer Ware.
Yeah, still Ware.
Yeah. Wide receiver 2, Jordy, Dez, or Brandon Marshall?
What? God. Where the hell are these guys playing? Jordy, Dez against the Giants. Jordy's playing who? Oakland? Brandon Marshall versus Cincinnati. Jordy.
I went Dez.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, all 3. You can make a case for any of them.
Bortles or Prescott?
Bortles.
Yeah. Agreed. Crabtree or Deshaun Jackson?
Deshaun. Always underrated, that guy, I think.
Yeah, Derek Carr, Andrew Luck.
Luck.
Flex, Standard League, John Brown, Jeremy Langford, or TJ Yeldon?
Yeldon. Give me some of that Yeldon. Yeah, Hankins says, who is that dude's wide receiver 1? Yeah, no kidding. Guy who had he had Dez, Jordy, and Brandon Marshall as the wide receiver 2 choices. Yikes.
Well,
Eli Manning or Matthew Stafford? Sorry, one just came in YouTube. Eli Manning or Matt Stafford?
Oh, I love Matt Stafford today. Matt Stafford.
Eli, not very good against Dallas the past 2 games. Look at last year's stats, man. Whatever reason, he chokes versus Dallas. I'm going with Matt Stafford there as well.
Corey Coleman, Ryan Matthews, or Matt Forte in a PPR league. It's flex.
Forte. I like Forte.
I'm going Matthews. Gio, Kevin White, or Eric Ebron at the flex. PPR.
Gio's the only one I could trust on that list.
Yeah. Pick 2 for PPR. Snead, Ware, or Kristen Michael.
Michael.
Pick 2.
Oh, pick 2? Ware and Michael. I really like Snead.
Theo
He's gonna
Riddick
prove me
or
wrong, I'm sure.
yeah, well, Theo Riddick or Golden Tate in the flex. I don't even know. That's not even. Is that a question? But
No, Tate. Come on.
yeah. I mean, I guess I shouldn't bash people's questions. That's very rude of me.
Very professional of you, Kev. Is that a question? Are you an idiot?
Yeah, my luck it'll go the other way. Tate will go for like 2 and 20, and then Theo Riddick will just explode, and I'll be like, oh well, I guess it was a question.
He'll have 7 for 99 and a touchdown.
Yeah. DeMarco Murray or Spencer Ware?
Murray, just because it's a Ware situation, he might be splitting carries. Murray could be too, actually, now that I think about it after I said that.
Forsett or Rawls? I don't even know why you would even consider playing Rawls today.
Yeah, Forsett. Why would you play Rawls? You may not even play.
You got any other ones? We only got a couple minutes left.
We got 2 minutes. I don't know. I don't have any other ones. Let's see if anybody's asked on Ask TFA. There was some coming in before. Dick PPR.
What's that?
Duke Johnson or James White PPR?
James White.
James White over Duke Johnson? Wow. I'd go Duke. Let's talk Dak Prescott. What do you think? What's he going to do?
It's so interesting. He looks tremendous. I mean, fantastic in the preseason. But that's preseason. Vanilla defense. We don't really know what to expect from him. And a season-long format, I wouldn't be firing up Dak Prescott. And DFS, he's going to be extremely chalky. And plenty of people are going to be on him. I'm not. I think I have him in maybe 1 or 2 of my lineups, but overall, no. I think it's a very risky move to be messing around with him this week. He does offer both the combination of beating you with his arm and his legs. So, but I think you'll see the Cowboys try to be very, very cautious with him in this game. You kind of ease him into things. I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to see an extensive amount of work. And I just don't know if the upside's there this week for him. So, but I do like the long-term success, and I think it'll be interesting. It's going to be a real storyline if Dak Prescott really does continue to impress people, and then come times when Tony Romo is finally healthy, what they'll do with him.
Yeah, there's a question actually on NFL Network here before. Does Dak take Tony's job? It's possible if he plays well enough.
Yeah, it could be like the Drew Brees, Tom Brady thing. Or Drew Brees, Drew Bledsoe.
I had a lot of fun. Drew Bledsoe. I had a lot of fun today, man. Enjoy the games. Enjoy week 1. I will be talking to you later. Oh, September 11th, man. Moment of silence. I think it's important to pay our respects to the fallen soldiers and everybody who are fighting for our freedoms and everything about that. So let's just do we'll do a 10-second moment of silence right now before we go ahead and end the show. All right. Thank you so much to all of our veterans out there, all of our listeners today. Everybody enjoy the week 1 games. Football is finally back. Good luck to your fantasy teams, and we will be back for our Wednesday podcast and next Sunday as well with any of your questions. So feel free to join us then. Have a good one, Kev.
You too.
All right, guys. Until next Sunday, see you later. This has been the Fantasy Authority Game Day podcast for week 1.